All right, guys, good afternoon. Today we're here to dive into one of the most pressing issues of our time. Sometimes it's seen as a four-letter word, and it's not a comfortable one, but it's cybersecurity, and how the Redwood Project is really truly taking a bold approach to changing that narrative. Today we've got Craig here with us, a key figure behind this initiative, as well as the growth and development of the Redwood Project. So, Craig, let's start with really the big question. Why change?
Well, so first, thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
I think the reality is that the world has shifted dramatically, at least for me, over the last decade.
Yeah.
We've seen a series of devastating cyber attacks, data breaches. And if we're honest with ourselves, our response to these threats has been almost always reactive. We wait until we're punched in the face before we do something about it. And it's like we're always one step behind, trying to patch things up after the damage is done. The turning point really came for me, I think, after the Edward Snowden revelation in 2013.
Mm.
He exposed the private relationships between the US government and the private industry, and that left a deep scar on how we collaborate on cybersecurity. That trust was shattered, and so businesses started to pull back from working with government because they didn't want to be seen as complicit in surveillance or bias towards protecting U.S. interests over international relationships.
Right.
And I think they had a fear of international reputational damage. But here's the thing. Cyber threats don't care about those divides, those restrictions. Whether you're in the private sector or government agency, the threat is real and relentless to everybody.
Mm.
So the challenge for us is to repair that relationship and to rebuild a proactive defense strategy. And that's the why change is absolutely necessary now.
Yeah, I agree with you, Craig. I think, you said getting punched in the face. I think a number of leaders like yourself have those black eyes as proof, and the scars of not responding or getting proactive to really protect against these cyber threats. So,
Yep.
that context, why now? What makes this movement and this moment the right time for a project like Redwood?
Well, we're at a critical juncture.
Mm.
Cyber attacks are becoming more sophisticated and more frequent. State-sponsored actors, cyber criminals, doesn't matter, hacktivists, they are targeting everything from critical infrastructure, I mean, to healthcare, big, breach with Change Healthcare. I mean, they're financial services. And quite frankly, the old way of doing things, sort of reacting after a breach, it's just not enough.
Yeah.
So we've reached a point where waiting is simply too dangerous. Every time we delay, we put our businesses, our economy, our nation at risk. If we look back, the pandemic showed us really just how vulnerable we are when key industries are disrupted, and we can't. And so when you look at that as an example, we simply can't afford to keep playing defense and reactive all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So why the timing is so critical is that, I think companies are ready to collaborate, and the government understands that it needs industry more than industry needs it.
Mm-hmm.
And consumers, we demand that we do better.
Yeah.
It's just not about being ready. It's about being tired of the same boring narrative of taking hits in the face and scrambling to clean up the mess. We have to start anticipating the punches, dodge them, and then counterpunch. And the Redwood Project is about building that boxing muscle memory, that proactive approach to cyber. It's about saying no more waiting to get hit in the face before we react. We're going to be smarter, we're going to be faster, and we're going to be more united.
Goodness, that that gives me chills, Craig. I mean, it's incredibly powerful to listen to how passionate you are about this, because it's now. It was yesterday, it was last year, it was the years before. We have to get a handle on this, or we're putting ourselves, our companies, and our nation at risk. It's very, very powerful. So now let's talk a little bit about why the Redwood Project and why this initiative, and how does it differ from what we've seen in the past?
Well, the Redwood Project is, as I said before, it's fundamentally about rebuilding trust and foster true collaboration. I think the reason it's different is because we're not waiting for the government to tell us what we can and cannot do.
Right.
And we're not going to wait for the next disaster to strike before we come together. This is an industry-led initiative, bringing the most influential companies across multiple sectors, and we're going to develop tools, resources, and strategies that benefit everybody.
Right.
What really sets the Redwood Project apart is our focus on anticipation, right? We're not going to get caught off guard. It's time to predict. It's time to prevent. It's time to prepare. Now, we're equipping U.S. companies to share intelligence, to work hand in hand with the government, and to develop cyber defenses that don't just react. We anticipate the next wave of attacks. One of the key aspects of this is the Safe Harbor program. A group within the Redwood Project did an amazing job of this. The draft of the documents, it encourages companies to share information without the fear of legal backlash from the government. And I think this is critical because in the past, businesses were often hesitant to collaborate openly. And the Redwood Project changes that dynamic. We make it easier to share intelligence in real time with the full backing of the government. We're also putting tools into the hands of businesses that are smaller. They're not just the big companies that can afford millions of dollars in cyber. We're putting tools into the hands of small and mid-sized companies so they can be prepared just like everybody else, because they may be part of the supply chain of our critical infrastructure. And so I think that's, two of the main work streams that have already seen a lot of progress.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. We need to learn from each other. We need to get proactive with one another. It takes a village, right? It's like the same thing as raising a family. We need the village. It's the same thing here with what we're ultimately trying to do: protect ourselves, our businesses, as well as our nation. So it sounds like the Redwood Project is truly more than a cybersecurity solution and movement. It's really a movement to change the way we're approaching the problem together, right?
Yeah. I mean, be clear, we're not a cybersecurity solution.
Yeah.
We are, you said it best, we're a movement, right? We're not selling stuff. This is a nonprofit. And we're not here just to patch things up. This is about a strategic, proactive approach to outsmart our adversaries that threaten our nation. It's about standing up and saying, we're not going to be victims anymore, especially of the next cyber attack. We're going to lead, we're going to collaborate, we're going to build stronger defenses together. So the Redwood Project is the bridge between industry and government that's going to make that happen.
Gosh, Craig, I can't tell you how grateful I am for you being a part of this project and coming with such incredible insights and forward thinking. We're all thinking about these things. We just don't know where to start. And I think the Redwood Project is really where we begin this journey moving forward. So thank you so much for explaining why this change is needed, why now is our moment, and why the Redwood Project is really leading the way.
Well, thanks for having me. It's time we change the game, and the Redwood Project is how we're going to do it.
Let's go do it.
Let's do it.
Awesome. Thanks, Craig.
Thank you.